Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Langley Lab, brought to you by Langley Consulting, an HRIS consulting firm dedicated to improving systems and processes surrounding HR. And my name is Hayel, like Hi L. And I'm so excited to bring you this episode today as we've expanded our products and service offerings into WFM and Ready. We are very excited to present another WFM presentation today that has been reviewed by one of our resident WFM experts here at Langley Consulting, Donna Stone. Quick shout out. So thank you, Donna. And if you like this kind of content, we would love your like and subscribe. It definitely gives us a little boost every time we're like, yes, there's people out there that actually need this. So if that is you and you want to see more content like this, we aim to roll out a video once every month, if not more. We're hoping to do more here soon. So hopefully you find this presentation helpful, and let's get into it. All right, so in today's presentation, we'll be going over time and attendance, specifically UKG Pro WFM, aka the older brother or sister of UKG Ready, if that's the product you're using, but a little bit more mature, more configurable. So this is going to be your guide, at least initially in high level, as a payroll prep and sign off configuration. So we'll walk through how some of the common mistakes people make that we see and how you can make your process even smoother. So here's what we'll be covering today. We'll walk through how to certify accurate time cards, handle any pending historical corrections, configure sign-off preparation. That's the feature that locks down time cards so no one can sync in edits while you're processing. Very important. And of course, the sign-off of the pay period, process the payroll, and then managing any corrections that come up after the fact. We'll also touch on best practices for when to turn sign-off prep on and when to remove it. Think of this as your end-to-end checklist. Before we dive into the process, though, I'd like to introduce you to our team, Patty Payroll, and our payroll administrator, our CFO, known to the team as Bossman. We will follow them as they navigate the common payroll challenges, fixes, and pro tips for UKG payroll preparation. But first, let's take a quick review of a few key terms. First, sign-off preparation. This is a temporary state for payroll administrators to prepare for payroll with no changes from employees or managers. When enabled, the time card and schedule appear grayed out. Only users with permissions can review or edit during this time. Critical. UKG data views are dynamic. These are real-time visualizations of employee and location data used by managers and payroll personnel to evaluate data. If your team is not using these, definitely hit us up. They are extremely useful when put in place and customized properly. Key data views for payroll prep include exception count by employee, that's used to audit time cards or modifications as needed. And then approval summary, used to check employee or manager approvals, and pay period review, used to review worked and paid hour totals. And finally, we have payroll historical correction. It's an adjustment made after payroll has already been processed to fix something that was wrong in a last pay period. What typically happens in a historical correction is payroll system creates an as originally paid versus what should have been paid comparison for the affected periods. And then the difference is applied in a later payroll run as retro pay or reversal offset. Taxes and deductions may also be recalculated based on corrected amounts. So the changes documented for audit and reporting impacts, so anything to W-2 or benefit reportings, you should definitely be tracking that and auditing that. All right, so now Bossman has a problem. He says, employees never get their time cards done on time. Managers make last-minute changes, and it backs up payroll processing. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, I know. And so he yells out loud, "We need to fix this, Patty. How do we fix this?" And so Patty knows exactly what to do. She's like, "I know what WFM can do." Or I contacted Langley Consulting and I know that they can help and train the team on how to do this. We can enable sign off preparation. It automatically stops employees from making edits in one swoop. And Boss Man's like, whatever, that would be huge, right? So set it up and let me know when it's live. So let's walk through how Patty can configure that. So here's what Patty sets up. Once she goes to the main menu, Application Setup, Function Access Profiles, this is where you can control who can do what during the sign-off prep window. So if you don't have access to this, it might be your HRIS administrator that would need to grant this access or need to perform this step for you. You'll see different user groups, everyone, employee, manager. You scroll down to the sign-off preparation section, and there are two key settings: enable, disable sign-off preparation, and edit during sign-off preparation. For employees and managers, set both to disallowed. Here's the tip. Only your payroll admins should have the edit sign-off preparation set to allowed. That way, once sign-off prep is turned on, nobody can sneak in last-minute changes except people processing payroll. So before we jump into the steps, here's the big picture. Payroll prep process has 6 stages. First, you ensure no time card modifications are still needed, using the exception count by employee data view. Second, you manage employee and manager approvals with the approval summary data view. And then thirdly, you review worked and paid hours totals using the timesheet pay period close data view. And fourth, you run the sign off, prep, and sign off the pay period. Fifth, you review the group edit results to confirm everything processed. And six, you'll extract payroll under maintenance integrations. Now look at that flow at the bottom. Here's the approval chain. Employee, a typical approval chain, right? It could vary from organization to organization, but mostly it looks like something like this. Employee approves their time card, then the manager, then divisional payroll, then there's a non-payroll edit cutoff. Once that's done, it moves to payroll admin actions. A sign-off preparation locks the time card so only authorized users can edit. And then central payroll sign-off formally closes the period. That's when you extract the process. And this is your roadmap for everything we're about to walk through. So the first thing Patty does is she checks for unresolved exceptions. She navigates to the menu, data view, and exception count by employee. This shows her which time cards still have open issues like missed punches, unapproved time off, or schedule conflicts. If there's anything flagged here, she fixes it now before sign off. You don't want surprises downstream, of course. Step 2, you review approvals via the approval summary. Patty checks that all approvals are in. She goes to menu, data view, approval summary. This tells her which employees and managers haven't completed their approvals yet. If something's missing, she follows up now. You can't sign off time cards that haven't been approved. So this is your gate check. And pro tip over here, train managers on how to delegate time cards and responsibilities from their home tile. That'll be huge. And another pro tip is if a manager is on PTO and hasn't approved and didn't delegate before they left, you can bulk approve on their behalf in this data view, which is nice. And now Patty, step 3, she reviews the actual hours. Under menu, data view, timesheet pay period review. She's looking at worked hours, paid hours, and making sure the totals make sense. Does anything look off? Someone with maybe 80 hours of OT, someone showing 0? This is your sanity check before you commit. And I've seen extensive checklists and sometimes short ones. The list tends to grow as more surprises come up. And as you learn your industry and what kind of mistakes are very common. And we'll go over some of the common mistakes a little bit later on. So in step 4, everything looks good. So Patty runs the group sign off. She selects her employees, chooses a sign off, and lets it run. This locks the time cards for pay periods so no more edits can be made. Think of it as closing the books on the time side. And keynote, this is only available for the previous pay period. It won't work if you try it on the current pay period's last day. Step 5, right after sign off, Patty checks her work. Under Menu, Data View, Library Group Edit Results, she filters by today's date and her username, then checks the status column. Did everyone process? Do the counts match? If anything else failed or partial, she goes back to that individual time card and fixes the issue and reruns sign off just for them. Now it's time to send the data to payroll. And step 6, under Menu, Main Menu, Integrations, Payroll Extract, Patty selects the correct pay period and employee group, then runs the integration. This pushes all the hours, earnings, and GL codes from WFM over to Pro. If her company tracks PTO or accruals in WFM, she also runs the accruals integration in the same session. Then she checks the results log for errors before moving on. So now Patty's done, and payroll is processed and she's feeling great. Boss man comes over to Patty. It's like, hey, Patty, Marcus's raise didn't make it in the last pay period. We need to correct it there, not on this check. And Patty, of course, she knows how to handle this. Says, no problem. I'll open his time card in the prior pay period, make the edit so it posts as a historical correction. That's Patty for you. In step 7, historical corrections, these are some of the most common historical corrections we see in workforce management. In a perfect world, every time card is 100% accurate, but we are all human. We all make mistakes. And retroactive adjustments just happen. And when they do, they usually fall into one of these common categories. First, we have rate and time errors. This includes missed pay increases like retro raise that wasn't entered into the system in time, or missed punches where an employee definitely worked a shift but forgot to clock in or out. Next are coding or hour discrepancies. We frequently see the wrong pay code applied, such as coding in a shift as regular hours, when it actually qualified for overtime. We also have simple entry mistakes, hours added because a manager forgot to log a shift entirely, or hours removed to clean up duplicates or errors. And then there are structural or premium adjustments. Transfer corrections are necessary when hours get billed to the wrong department, job code, or cost center. We also look out for missed premiums or differentials. For instance, if a shift differential or on-call rate or weekend premium failed to apply properly or automatically. Not even UKG is infallible. Finally, we look at accruals and schedules. Accrual adjustments correct PTO hours that were deducted incorrectly or missed entirely, while a schedule override fixes instances where an employee worked a completely different shift than planned, which in turn impacts their premiums. Understanding these common types helps us spot errors early and ensure our data is clean before running the final payroll extract. Here's how Patty does it. She opens the employee's time card, navigates back to the prior pay period, and makes the edit directly there. Since that period is already signed off, WFM automatically flags it as a historical correction. Next time the payroll extract runs, it pulls through as a retro adjustment to the original period. And of course, a quick recap here of the data views we used and when they come into play. For exception count by employee and approval summary, These are your before checks before you start anything. And then you have timesheet pay period review is during. Group edit results is your after sign off confirmation. And enable quick edits is what you use after payroll's been extracted when you need to make historical corrections. Bookmark these. They're your payroll prep toolkit and already built into your WFM experience. Now, not everybody has exceptions configured into their system. That is just separate. So if you haven't configured exceptions into your WFM, you might be underutilizing some of the flags that you need or your managers need to accurately capture all of these potential mistakes. So we hope that you found this presentation helpful. If you're interested in working together, that is our contact down below, info@langleyconsultingllc.com. And if you did not already, like and subscribe. It helps the momentum continue going. And we hope to see you next month.